Hey everyone, welcome to Two Car Pros. My name is Ryan, and today I'm going to show you exactly how to change the fuel pump for a 2005 Ford F-150 with a 5.4 liter V8. I don't know for sure if the other engine options are different on the fuel pump, but the process will be exactly the same, just the part number might be different, so you need to double check that info. Also, the part number might be different if you have a long bed as opposed to the short bed that I have, because the wheelbase changes, the gas tank changes, the gas tank height might change. Again, something you need to double check before you just go ahead and order the one that I ordered. This repair is a little bit more on the challenging side just because typically, as how the universe works, when you fill up your gas tank, then your fuel pump goes out, so your gas tank will just be full of gas, and these trucks typically have like a 30-gallon-ish tank, and gas is about 6 pounds a gallon, so they can end up weighing hundreds of pounds, and that is very unwieldy and potentially dangerous. So if you can, run your gas tank all the way down to as low as it will go. Barring that, you're going to need to externally siphon it. Later on in the video, I show how to get every last drop of the gasoline out of it by rating the fuel pump if that still works. If it doesn't still work, then you're gonna have to siphon that manually, and that's going to mean taking off the fuel filler neck and putting a tube in there and siphoning it that way. And always be very careful when you're handling gasoline. Obviously, gasoline is super dangerous. I know we kind of lull ourselves into a false sense of security with gasoline because it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, but it is very dangerous. You need to be very careful. Make sure there's no sparks around you. Make sure you're wearing eye protection and gloves because you don't want it on your skin or in your eyes. But just use your head and you'll be just fine. A way you can kind of tell your fuel pump is going out is when you go full throttle, getting on an on-ramp or something, the engine will miss or it'll lay over a little bit. You can kind of tell that the fuel pump's not keeping up with demand. Also, sometimes when you go to start it, if it takes just a little bit longer to start, it's because the fuel pump's not building pressure quick enough to feed the engine. Those are usually the telltale signs that your fuel pump is on its way out, which is what happened with this truck. I noticed that it was cranking for a little longer than I would have normally liked to see, and that's usually like its kind of warning shot that you're on the way out and your fuel pump needs a replacement, because when your fuel pump goes out, it pretty much leaves you stranded and you need a tow truck. With all of that out of the way, let's jump in. Step one, this might seem obvious, but I'm going to point out anyway, is remove the gas filler cap. This will prevent excessive gases, keeping pressure in the tank. This will make taking the tank out a lot less messy because gas won't want to go everywhere. Before we get started, I'll kind of give you a sense on where we're working on the truck today. So we're going to come underneath where the driver's seat is. There's a transfer case or the transmission if you don't have a transfer case. And right here is where we're going to get started, where the fuel filter and evap line is. We're going to take those off. So right here is our evap line. We can push on that safety and move it backward, just like that. Get that disconnected out of there. Pretty easy. Now we take our fuel filter line off. You need the 5/16 or the yellow fuel line removal tool, linked down below in the description. And normally there's a safety right here, but it looks like some idiot has mangled that into oblivion. It's me, I'm the idiot. But you don't really need it, it's a secondary safety. The real safety is what we're undoing with the yellow tool there. There we go. And a little bit of gas is gonna come out. It's okay. You don't need to freak out about it. Just don't smoke. Wear eye protection. Wear gloves. A good idea. And these little vacuum caps that are kind of neat, kind of prevent any kind of crud getting in the fuel filter. Well, it doesn't really want to stay on there, does it? There we go. And if you're replacing your fuel filter, you don't really need to do that. In fact, I might. But it's a good idea just to not get dirt into the fuel system. And don't get dirt on the inside of this fuel line. Again, you want to avoid dirt getting into the system, but that was actually pretty easy, so we can move on. Okay, on the rear of the gas tank, so now we're just above the differential, we can remove these evap lines the same way. Push on them. There we go. It's a little difficult to remove because the lines are a little stiff. All right, those are a little tricky to get, but you just have to keep pushing on the safety like this. Make sure you've pushed this all the way, and then the line will wiggle out. And these are a little firm, so they take a little bit of extra effort. And right here in the driver's rear wheel well, there is a 7mm hose clamp that we need to remove. I mean, if you can get the line off right there from where the fuel filler goes into, then great, do that. But Mine's not cooperating, so I'm gonna have to kind of do mine the hard way. I'm taking this hose clamp kind of off its perch, so that way the filler line can come down a little bit and just give me just a little more room. We also need to remove these bolts right here, and then we should be able to get it down enough to where we can remove the entire assembly. So what I have now is my transmission jack. You can do this just as easily with a floor jack. They even make a transmission mount adapter. You don't have to have it. Plank of wood would do really well too, just to distribute the load so you don't puncture the tank. I've also put a ratchet strap around the tail side of the tank. I've just tried to kind of put the transmission jack in about as middle as it's gonna get. You could put a little more rearward if you really wanted to, but I like to put these moving straps on there, ratchet straps on there. You might notice I don't have one going this way. It's because I'm gonna take this strap off and out of the way so I can then put another strap around it on the front. That should hold it nice and safe for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this 13mm bolt. There we go. And that should allow us to get this strap out of the way. There we go. And on the other side of the tank, we can actually lift the strap kind of up and out of that little T-shaped hole. Like that. Now both ratchet straps are on and they're pretty tight. They're not like Hulk's crushing tight or anything. We can remove the rear strap holding the gas tank to the tank and let the tank down a little bit. Here's where the rear strap bolt is for the gas tank, making sure our transmission jack is holding steady. We remove this. There we go. Then we can just remove this strap just like the other one. Double check how tight our straps are. Looks pretty good. Now the only thing holding this in is our transmission jack, so we're gonna let it down slowly, making sure it clears everything. Now, I haven't unplugged any of the electrical either, so I might have to fish my hands up there and unplug things, and I will show you what that looks like afterward. Okay, so I've checked all around again and again. There's 2 electrical connectors, a vent line up there. I'll show you all when I get the tank down, but I'm just going slow, and I'm double checking everything. I'm looking around, making sure it's gonna come down nice and slow and clean. If you feel like it's moving backward a bit too much, counteract that, so that way it doesn't get out of control, because depending on how heavy the tank is, it could be quite dangerous. So it's a good idea to drain this if you can. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to. In this truck, it has about a quarter tank left in it. But if you know what you're doing, it's not too bad. But again, if you have the luxury of running the tank down dry, do that. And there we go. So real quick, I just want to show you guys kind of an unofficial step, but since this pump sort of still functions, I went ahead and hooked it up to my power supply. And if you're wondering, if you're looking directly at it, positive goes on the rightmost pin, negative goes on the second from the left, which makes those don't touch obviously, and then put it into a fuel safe container. And since this gas is perfectly good, we're probably just gonna put it right back in the tank. And I'm just making this as light as possible because when you replace the tank, you're going to want this as light as it physically can be. And that's what I'm doing right now, getting rid of the probably 4 or 5 gallons in here, because gasoline is about 6.5 pounds a gallon, I think. So, you know, 20 pounds, 20, 30 pounds, it adds up. Now here's the top of our gas tank on my little cart here. And before we even get started, vacuum this up with a vacuum cleaner or some compressed air and blow it off. I've even used Windex and kind of cleaned it up with a paper towel just to reduce the amount of contaminants that might fall in the tank once we remove the top here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and remove this evap line, same way we'd remove the other ones. Pretty easy. So I'm gonna put this before I start trying to wrestle this off and break it. The reason I broke it is because I thought you had to pull it. It turns out you push it just like the one next door to it. I thought because it looked different, maybe it worked differently, but nope, you need to push this yellow piece that's no longer there that I broke due to the me being silly and being wrong about how it works, you just push it in and wiggle the evap line off of there. So kind of a bummer, but oh well, that's automotive. As long as it'll snap back on there and not leak, I'm happy. And luckily this is my own truck. And it looks like someone else had a problem with these. This is the main fuel line feed for the fuel pump to pump up. So push in on it this time, because it looks like somebody snapped it off at some point and put this gum stuff on there. So hopefully it still works. And this one's definitely broken. So you can see that I had to remove this piece that normally you would slide forward, and you can see the little bit opening, the little opening gets a little bit bigger towards the middle. I had to remove it completely in order to get this line off. Normally, you should be able to just push it like this, and then that would open, and then you can get the line off that way. But unfortunately, this one has been broken. You can see that it's not supposed to be able to be removed like this. It should stay in its own. It doesn't. So someone has remedied that with some goop. So we might be replacing that. So to remove this ring, they do sell special tools that go on there and make it a little easier and all of everything, but I've always found them to be unnecessary. I just usually grab a punch, put it right here on the edge of the ring, and just give it some taps. Counterclockwise until it comes up. And then once it's finally in its spot, boing, comes up. Be careful not to get any grit and grime inside of the tank. Do your very best to avoid that. We can remove our fuel pump. You can even see that it has a little arrow right here pointing to an arrow here, so we can't install the new one incorrectly. There we go. Fuel pump out of there, and it's hanging on by a vent. We need to deal with that. Once your fuel pump is out of there, we can remove the seal. Our new one should come with a new seal, and I would definitely advocate for using the new one. You just had to take this off, which again has one of those really super awesome clips that definitely work exactly as intended. I definitely didn't break it. And now we can go look at our new fuel pump. So before we go any further, I want to show how I'm going to fix this vent tube that kind of broke off. It goes on the bottom side of the pump flange. So I've just fed a zip tie into here, and you might think, oh, what good does that do? Because when I put the tube in, I'm going to bend it up like this and then tighten it, and that should prevent this from falling off in the future, and it doesn't rely on any kind of goo, because as far as I know, there's no gas-proof plastic adhesive that will work for that. Besides, I want to be able to take it off in the future for when this pump goes bad, which they always do. So I'm just going to put that in there for right now, and I've already taken all the fuel out of the tank. And the next thing I'm going to do is take our seal, and I already cleaned it off, so it's nice and clean. I've also cleaned off this surface here. And I'm just going to take some WD-40, nothing special, and I'm going to apply it to this seal. You can even put some around here. By using WD-40 because it's a bit flammable, and it won't dilute my gasoline. So you just want to put a nice thin film of WD-40 on here. That's going to help it seal, and look how nice it rotates around. And you might notice, yes, this is the one that I took off, so I cleaned it very well, like I said. If your fuel pump comes with a new one of these, go ahead and use it. If it's not in great shape, go ahead and get another one. This one's in fine shape, and my new fuel pump did not come with one, so something to think about. So here is our new fuel pump. This is made by Bosch. Ford doesn't make this product anymore. It is effectively a deprecated part. So we're kind of on our own and have to use the aftermarket. I think there was one Motorcraft one left on Rock Auto, but it was like $400 and I'm not paying that. This was like $140, I think. The only thing on these is you want to make sure you get the correct length. Your wheelbase number will determine that. Mine is the 138 inch because the tank will vary a little bit, and there is some leeway. You can see it can kind of get squished down a little bit and come back. So this keeps the pickup at the bottom of the tank as best as possible. So that's something to consider. This unit's going to be just fine. It's made by Bosch, and the link is located down below in the description. I did have to put the float on. It's real straightforward, and we can put that down into the tank just like this. And then you'll notice that we need to put on that vent that we modified. So hold that up, and if you didn't break your safety off, you can just reset it and then forget it. It's really easy, but I do not have that luxury, unfortunately. So I think this is gonna work just fine. Hey, yeah, check that out. You don't have to be able to like hold on or pull on it Hulk tight, but as long as you can't just go boonk right off, the safety's doing its job. Sweet. And then we can put our pump into position like this, and you'll notice this arrow matches up with that arrow. And you can see the springiness of the fuel pump coming into play here. Just make sure that that arrow matches with that arrow. And see, when you put it down, it's in the right spot. So now we can push down on the top of the fuel pump, grab our lock ring, and put it on the way we found it. Yep. Like that. And you'll notice these tangs kind of go under these hooks, I would call them. And then you can kind of just get it started with your fingers like this so it doesn't just go boonk and come up, because that's frustrating. And then we're just going to tap it down by tapping it clockwise. There we go. Excellent. You might be asking me, well, how do you know you're done? You know you're done because this hook, whatever you want to call it, is basically butted up right here, and right there, and right there, and right there, and this won't turn anymore clockwise. That's how you know you're done. So the safety for my fuel line just busted off. I don't recommend doing what I'm about to do, but do as I say, not as I do, because this one actually handles fuel pressure, and that can be dangerous, obviously. So this is the way I'm going to fix this, by replacing the safety with a zip tie. Again, hoping it works. Should work. Worked on the other one. For the fuel pressure line, we can put that on. Now, normally when you have safety, you just push it down and you just go blink, and you put the safety right back in, and everything is happy. But we don't have that luxury. The safety literally just crumbled into pieces once I took that like gunk stuff on someone else put on there. So I'm just going to tighten that down reasonably tight. I think we're good. Again, you just want to make sure you can't just grab this and go and plunk it off of there, but this seems perfectly good. Hopefully that's the last time we have to kind of bodge that on there, but it seems good, because even if it's operating at the top of the sweep like this, which it probably won't, it'll be just fine. This is just to prevent the fuel line from popping off, but I don't think it will. I think it's good to go. And then right here for the evap lines, these are easy. Just snap them back on, and you're made in the shade. And this one goes to the fuel door vent where the fill tube goes, so don't worry about that guy. I'm actually going to leave the cap on there so no stuff gets in the tank. So underneath the truck, I want to show real quick about the connectors. I wasn't able to show due to my hands being there, and there's just no way to get a camera up in that small space. You can get your hands in there though. So go ahead on this one for the evap sensor, just push like that, wiggle the connector off, might be a little sticky. Same with the power for the pump and the sender. That's the safety right there. You can see it actuating, and wiggle that off. And then this is for the vent for the fuel filler tube. And again, this is one of those really easy ones that you just push like the dickens right there, and you just wiggle it off. So those are the three connectors I wasn't able to show. And putting them back on is a cinch. You just snap them back in. There's no special song or dance. You just push them back on. So to put it back, it is just the inverse of removing it. Putting it back in is actually like super easy. You just put the tank up, plug everything in, put it up further, then put the straps on, and you're done. It is very, very simple. You're more than capable of handling that if you got it out. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it is a fairly advanced repair. This is something you could do at home on a nice flat driveway, but I could understand if maybe you want to take this to a mechanic. I don't blame you for that. These fuel pumps are fairly inexpensive. They're like 130 bucks. So where they get you is the labor, and that labor is probably going to cost you, I would say, upwards of 350, 400 bucks, 500 bucks if you live somewhere really high end, something like that, because shops are going to vary state to state and area to area. But you know, it's a decent amount of work, and it is decently dangerous dealing with gasoline. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. And then of course, once you're all hooked up and you think you're ready, put some gasoline in it. I'd put at least 5 gallons of gas in it. Don't try to make the fuel pump work with like a gallon of gas in the tank. It's not gonna like that. It might overheat and fail. You really don't want that. And to extend the life of your fuel pump, never let your gas gauge go below a quarter tank. That's gonna keep the fuel pump in a nice cool pool of fuel. They really like to run cool. You can definitely do this repair. Just go slow, take your time. Don't get flustered. I know it's easier said than done, but the more you keep calm, the easier these repairs become. Trust me, out of experience. If you found this video helpful or interesting at all, please consider becoming a member by clicking that join button down below. It is a direct way to help the channel out. Barring that, a like, comment, and subscription go a long way in helping my channel out, and I really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.